Today, your online personal finance course brings in more than $5 million a year. When you told your mother you were quitting your cashier job at the grocery store to teach household budgeting on the internet, she said, as calmly as could be, that you'd lost your mind. You were 29. Separated for 8 months, 2 kids, one 3 years old and the other 6, living in a 2-bedroom apartment that cost $890 a month in a city where nothing was exactly cheap. You had a degree in financial administration, with a focus on personal finance, a diploma that looked impressive on paper and was completely useless in practice, because 4 years out of the workforce raising the boys had left a gap on your resume that no recruiter could ignore. You sent your resume to 47 jobs in the field. You got 2 replies. None turned into an interview. The job that paid the bills was at a grocery store register, $11.40 an hour, afternoon shift, to fit around the kids' school schedule. After rent, after the younger one's daycare, after bills and whatever was left for food, your total balance, checking account plus the little savings you had left, was $1,000. Not $1,000 a month. $1,000, period, in everything you had in the world. There's a specific myth about single mothers that nobody questions enough, the idea that they simply don't have time to build something of their own, that the only realistic option is to survive on whatever comes. That's not a lie, in most cases it's exactly the reality. But what that myth hides is that time isn't the only variable, it's just the most visible one. What you had that most people in your situation didn't was a specific technical knowledge, sitting idle, unused, taking up space in your head while you scanned products at the checkout. The decision wasn't dramatic. It happened on a Tuesday, after one more silent rejection by email, when you opened your phone and, instead of applying to job number 48, recorded a 2-minute video explaining how to organize a minimum wage budget using 3 physical glass jars, the same technique you'd been using for the past 8 months to keep the bills from falling behind. You posted it unedited, without a script, on your break. A little over 300 people saw it that first week. The first real financial step came 2 weeks later, when you spent $39 of your $1,000 on a used ring light, secondhand, because the videos you'd been filming in your dark bedroom kept getting comments asking you to show up better. It didn't feel like an investment. It felt like a purchase you shouldn't be making. The routine that carried all of this had nothing glamorous about it. You woke up at 5 in the morning, before the boys, to film and edit, because that was the only quiet hour of the day. You kept working the register for another full year, because the money from the videos still didn't pay for anything. You didn't buy new clothes. You didn't go out with friends. The car stayed the same 2011 Honda Civic you'd had before the separation, and it would stay that way for many years after, too. Your first real asset was born 6 months after that first video, a simple PDF, a formatted budget spreadsheet, sold for $17, advertised in a single 3-minute video. In the first month, it sold 20 copies. $340. It was the first time since the separation that you saw money come in from something other than an hour worked. The digital financial education course market was, at that time, starting to grow in a way most people still hadn't noticed, more and more people looking to teach themselves what school never had, and more wary of traditional financial advisors who seemed out of touch with the reality of people who didn't earn much. You didn't know any of this consciously at the time. You just knew that the people in your comments section seemed desperate for the same kind of practical help you were giving away for free. None of this happened without stumbling. 6 months after launching the PDF, a change in the platform's algorithm dropped your reach to almost nothing for nearly 2 months, and you watched sales practically disappear. A few months after that, your ex-husband fell 3 payments behind on child support, and you had to choose between paying for internet or covering the rest of the rent that month. You chose the internet, because without it there was no business at all. And there were nights, more than one, when you seriously asked yourself whether you were being irresponsible, pouring energy into a hobby, instead of just taking whatever fixed-hour job came along. Your mother was the most direct about it. She said, more than once, that you needed a real job, that the internet didn't pay the electric bill. Your sister, more gently but with the same kind of worry, suggested that maybe it was time to be more realistic, with 2 small kids to support on your own. Nobody was cruel. Everyone was, in their own way, trying to protect you from a disappointment they seemed certain. The growth, over the following 2 years, was quiet and slow enough to be almost invisible from the inside. At 8 months, your extra income from the videos and the PDF passed $1,200 a month, enough for you to cut back your shifts at the store. In the first full year since that first video, you'd made, altogether, just over $30,000. In the second year, that number passed $120,000, and that's when you finally left the registered job for good. It was also in the second year that you launched your second real asset, a complete, structured course, sold for $297, built on everything you'd learned teaching for free over those months. The first 100 sales took 3 weeks. You hired your first employee, part-time, to handle student support, because you could no longer keep up with everything on your own. The turning point happened in a strangely ordinary way. You were sitting at the kitchen table, after putting the boys to bed, reviewing the month's sales dashboard, when you realized the business's total revenue, from that first video to that exact moment, had crossed $1 million. You didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't call anyone. You closed the laptop, washed the coffee cup in the sink, and went to bed. The next day, you had a team meeting at 9 in the morning. The cost of this wasn't small, even though you rarely talk about it in public. Years without a real vacation. Nights when you worked after the boys fell asleep and felt the exhaustion of weeks with no real rest piling up. A relationship that started 2 years after the separation and didn't survive the number of hours the business demanded of you. You don't count that as tragedy. You count it as the real cost of something nobody warned you would come with a price tag like that. What changed, over time, was how the same people who doubted you started treating you. Your mother, who once said the internet didn't pay the electric bill, now sends the link to your course to friends of hers going through a divorce. Your sister, who told you to be more realistic, asked for your help organizing her own finances last year, and admitted, without you having to say a word about it, that she'd been wrong about what you were building. Former co-workers from the grocery store message you asking how to start something similar. Today, an ordinary day starts at 6 in the morning, still before the boys, but now in a bigger house, in a separate office you didn't used to have. There's a content team meeting at 9, recording a new course module at 11, and by 3 in the afternoon you're already free to pick the boys up from school, something the registered job never let you do properly. The company now has 7 employees. The course has passed 12,000 students. This isn't for just anyone. It's specifically for someone who has real knowledge, even if it seems small or too obvious to the person who's been living with it, and who's at a stage in life where starting over feels impossible for lack of time, money, or permission from the people around them. It's for anyone who's already heard, be more realistic, and still feels like they have something to offer that no one else is offering the right way. When you look back, at the $1,000 that was everything you had, what stays with you isn't today's number. It's the specific memory of recording that first video in a dark bedroom, not knowing if anyone would watch, not sure of anything, just tired enough of hearing no to try doing it differently. The money paid the bills. What resolved something deeper was proving, first to yourself, that the knowledge you carried was worth more than the job market had told you it was worth. Today, you spend a good part of your time teaching that same path to other mothers who are exactly where you were, with the same doubt on their face that you once had, and the same question that no one around them can quite